Hello, everybody. We're going to just give folks a few minutes to join because I know that I'm always running late with my back-to-back Zooms and meetings. But happy Halloween for everybody that's here. And I'm really excited to talk to you about NasaClip today. We'll give everyone just a few minutes. While we're waiting, I don't know what people are doing for Halloween. My daughter made me this pumpkin basketball hoop. I have a 4 and 6-year-old, and so if you have kids that age range, you know that there's a constant influx of artwork that's, sacred and precious to them, every single piece. I'm the mom that keeps it for about 3 to 4 weeks and then throws out everything that I don't like. I mean, for a while, I would keep it in a big pile, but I especially like some of the projects that come out of Halloween, and I have lots of pumpkins and other decorations. So we'll have this guy hanging out with us for Halloween. I am in uh, Baltimore, Maryland, is where our company is based, and it is going to be 81 degrees today on Halloween, which is officially the hottest Halloween I've ever experienced in my life. I think the benefit is that everyone that has a costume that would normally have to be covered with a winter jacket is going to be able to like fully enjoy trick-or-treating with their, full outfit out and no coats required. So that will be exciting. All right, now that we gave everyone a couple of minutes, let me go ahead and share screen so we can get started. All right. All right. So, as everyone knows, my name is Dr. Liz Clayborne. I'm the CEO and co-founder of NasaClip. And we are so excited about our Wefunder campaign that launched last week. And we're giving you guys an opportunity here to learn a little bit more about the company and to have some questions. So I will be going through a bit of my pitch deck, which outlines a lot of information that is available on our Wefunder page, but we'll go into a little bit more granular detail. And then certainly I want to make sure we have plenty of time for people to ask questions at the end and be able to kind of engage in me in that way. So we'll go ahead and get started. So, I, as a emergency medicine physician, never anticipated that I would be, transitioning my academic emergency medicine career to be a CEO and co-founder of a medical device startup. But when I was a resident, I identified a problem. And today we're going to talk about the kind of origin story for NasaClip, the traction I've had for the company, and then the roadmap that I see for success to what I want, which is a unicorn billion-dollar exit. And then we'll go into some of the details about how you can invest. And at the very end, I have an exciting announcement to share with all of you. So the problem that we are looking at right now are nosebleeds. And most of you probably have experienced a nosebleed at some point in your life, or you know somebody who gets nosebleeds all the time. What you might not know is that we see 500,000 ER visits a year for nosebleeds. And when I was a resident, I was just really shocked that this number of people would come to the ER for what seemed like a simple problem. Like, I was like, why are you here? Like, just put pressure on your nose. But I found that people tend to do almost the opposite of what they're supposed to do to stop a nosebleed. So they'll put their head backwards instead of forwards. They'll pinch up here on their nasal bridge instead of down here. And they don't hold constant pressure. You need about 10 to 20 minutes of uninterrupted pressure to stop a nosebleed. And while that sounds simple, it's a lot harder to do than you might think. Nobody is actually holding consistent pressure without letting go a little bit. And then a lot of times they'll just stuff things loosely up the nose that doesn't really apply appropriate pressure. So if you combine that with the fact that nosebleeds are most common in kids aged 2 to 10, older adults 55 to 80 who might be on blood thinners, it's really the least likely population to manage it well. And so when they can't get that bleeding to stop, they show up to me in the ER. And they want me to treat them right away, right? They're like bleeding all over the waiting room, demanding to be seen. But for us as ER docs, this is a lower acuity issue, but it happens to be really kind of time consuming and cumbersome to deal with. So I was frustrated as a resident. Like often what I was doing is taping together 2 tongue depressors to make a clip and MacGyvering together these other solutions. And I'm like, how is there not, a device that just helps people apply pressure and can take care of nosebleeds in any environment? So that is what NasaClip is. It is my physician designed, compression device that has intranasal sponges that can be medicated, and we are sized for both adults as well as pediatrics. And that picture you see in the bottom right-hand corner, that is a real live ER patient that has a NasaClip on her nose. I took care of her about 2 months ago in the ER, and unfortunately, it was a busy night. There were no beds, and so she had been sitting out there for 5.5 hours when I came in for my shift in the morning, and they're like, "Oh, Dr. Clayborne, we're so glad you're here. There's an epistaxis patient in the waiting room." And I'm like, "Why did you guys not put on the NasaClip?" And I guess they had run out of the NasaClips. They knew I would have some on me. So I was able to, apply the device, use some medication. I had her out the door in 40 minutes with a device to take home, and she was a happy camper after that. So it is a real life solution that I still use in my clinical shifts. And I'm so excited to talk to you more about it today. What I'm going to show you first is how to put on the device, and then I'll introduce our product demo video. So the device looks like this. It has these intranasal sponges. I did design them to be medicated. You can add agents to them like oxymetazoline or Afrin. People know Afrin spray as a nasal decongestant, but the way that it works is it's a vasoconstrictor. So it's actually very effective in stopping nosebleeds, but it's hard to spray a liquid medicine up the nose when it's bleeding. So you can put it on the sponge. You also can use it without medication. And if someone is bleeding, you simply clear your nose of clot, insert the nasal sponge, rotate it into place, and pinch shut. Just like that, it holds firm, constant, uninterrupted pressure. You leave it in place for 10 to 20 minutes and then simply release the clip and check for bleeding. You can rinse and reinsert this device, but we are very excited, as you guys are aware, that we are launching the reusable version of our device, and you'll be seeing first here the demo of our new reusable version, which has all plastic mechanism. It still has the sponges, but it completely disassembles, so the sponges come off, and then you can reuse this component and buy sponge refills. The back of all of our packages has a QR code that you can scan, so that means that no matter where you are or who's using the NasaClip, there's written instructions and a video that they can watch, and that is what I will show you quickly here. Whether you are a healthcare professional treating patients, a parent helping your child, or a nosebleed sufferer seeking a solution, here's how to use NasaClip for quick relief. Your NasaClip arrives in packaging like this. There are both single-use and reusable options available. NasaClip comes in adult and pediatric sizes. The boxes are color-coded for sizing. The adult size fits ages 14 plus, and the child size fits most kids aged 2 to 13. Children aged 2 to 5 may not tolerate the nasal sponges, in which case they may be removed from the device. That's my youngest daughter. Both my children are featured. To begin, simply remove one of the NasaClips from the sealed pouch or remove it from the reusable case. You may add medication to the sponges if directed by a healthcare professional before inserting the device. If you are assisting someone else, or if you are inserting the NasaClip yourself, the following steps are the same. Step 1. Bend the head forward and blow forcefully to clear the nose of any clots. Step 2. Extend pinch pads by pulling on the corners of both arms. Insert both NasaClip sponges into the nostrils with the curve pointing upwards. Step 3. Rotate the clip over the nostrils and firmly squeeze the corners so the pinch pads are tight on the nose. Step 4. Leave the device in place for 10 to 20 minutes. Step 5. Release the clip and check for bleeding. If bleeding persists, rinse the sponges with clean water, squeeze dry, and reinsert until bleeding has stopped. Please seek medical assistance for nosebleeds lasting longer than 30 minutes. Single-use NasaClips may be reinserted during the same nosebleed episode. They should not be reused for more than 1 day. Sponge refills are available for all NasaClips. You should wash your NasaClip device in between uses. To reload the sponge, use the following steps. Extend the clip and press the release tab on the bottom of the pinch arms. Remove old sponge, discard, and open a new sponge refill. Slide one hole of the sponge into the clip arm, fold in half, and slide the second hole onto the arm with the curve pointing upwards. Insert the second arm and center the sponge on the base of the clip. Store your NasaClip in the reusable case for next use. Remember, you can scan the QR code on packaging, which will take you to our how-to page, where this video and instructions are available. Please visit us at nasaclip.com for more information. So I hope everyone likes our new video. That is the first time we have shown it anywhere. It is going to be part of our relaunch with our new branding and the reusable device that will be available on Amazon shortly. And I'm just so excited that we've reached this point. So moving on from here. Oops, there we go. Um, if you look at what is currently available in the market, NasaClip, I think, has a patented technology that fulfills a hole. So both on the consumer and medical side, there aren't great solutions for treating nosebleeds. Oftentimes, if you look over the counter, most people, first of all, are just using Kleenex in their hands. But if they do search for a solution, they're often uncomfortable and not effective. Nose aid, which is kind of like a big blue clothespin clip, is pretty bulky. School nurses often tell me it slides off and is not effective for small kids. And then nampons is a nasal insert. You still really have to pinch on top of it until it blows up a little bit. If you fail conservative measures and go to a hospital, often what I'll have to turn to is a nasal tamponade device like the Rapid Rhino, which is very painful and expensive and invasive. It's essentially like a tampon that is inflated with 10 cc's of water. It has to be left in place for 24 to 48 hours. You're going on antibiotics, following up with an ENT. It is a major to-do. So we really look at NasaClip as a disruptive technology. When used correctly in the first instance, you're much less likely to have to progress to these more invasive and expensive interventions like packing or cautery. My product vision for NasaClip is to become the brand name for nosebleed rescue, essentially the ubiquitous, band-aid of nosebleeds. And I do see this as a product that will eventually be in every hospital, home, school, or office, an essential component of a first aid kit anywhere. And that is why we have such a large market. So NasaClip not only is fulfilling needs for our medical market, right, which would be ERs, urgent cares, clinics, but the kind of schools and sports medicine. In addition to the everyday mom and dad who might have a kid that bleeds or an older adult that's on blood thinners and is battling with this issue at home. And so we really see this as a solution that's going to be able to service both our B2B as well as our B2C customers. We made a strategic decision when going to the market to focus on our B2B market first. And part of the reason we did that is that I've done extensive customer discovery. I was a part of the NSF I-Corps early on in the founding of this company. And we've done over 150 customer interviews where we really ask people like, how do you know how to treat a nosebleed? Who told you that? Why do you do what you do? And most people said like a doctor or a nurse or a trusted family member is who told them what to do. So we think establishing our reputation in that medical market will make us that go-to solution for nosebleed emergencies, and then it will more easily transition to the consumer market that will, have a little bit more education and marketing that will be necessary in order to make them aware that the solution exists. We also will have, after the focus on ER and urgent cares, a whole host of other people that I didn't actually anticipate being great channels for us. So you can imagine school nurses deal with this on a daily basis, coaches for, particular sports like wrestling, MMA, basketball, hockey, very common problem. And for all of these people, they have limited time and limited personnel. And so giving them a solution that applies hand-free, compression, it really frees up their hands and their athletes' hands. And with the new device, it's all plastic. For a lot of athletes, they'll be able to return to play. We've also had great traction in channels related to event medicine. So some of you have heard we're rolled out to all Disney cruise ships and parks, which is amazing. They just actually reordered for their 4th time. And I have no idea how I didn't think of cruises before, because the demographic that gets on cruise ships is literally younger families and older adults. And that's exactly the distribution of where we see most nosebleeds. So we really see, good traction in the cruise industry, the airline industry, and kind of events that are in places that are at elevation or dry, like Denver, my hometown. And then obviously then from there, we'll be focused on our consumer market where, we're trying to get into the everyday medicine cabinet and be in the glove box and first aid kit for people, especially those that might have chronic bleeders in their family. And you can see on our page that we're really taking off. So, representing over 300 locations, really reputable medical institutions like the one I work for, University of Maryland. And we currently have 1.7 million in pipeline, meaning we're engaged with opportunities that represent that kind of revenue and have had over 100,000 in sales so far. This is a Class 1 FDA exempt device, which means that we're FDA registered and able to be bought on the market by the consumer as well as all of our B2B customers. This is a little bit of our traction so far with our sales to date. We've been in the market just about a year now, and I'm really excited to see that we've had quarter over quarter growth. In the gray bar, that represents sales that are on our B2B side, so ER, urgent care, schools. And then the purple is our consumer sales, and those are growing as well. We're really anticipating that that will take off once Amazon is launched. But you can see that we have steady growth here and are representing institutions from ERs, urgent cares, travel, and event medicine, and have a solid opportunity for continued growth. Our projections for revenue is to have a heavy focus in our first, 2 years, 2024, 2025 on our B2B segments, but then you can see moving into 2026 through 28 that you'll have a lot more e-commerce, which includes Amazon representation. And then yes, we'll break into retail brick and mortar. So that's, Walgreens, CVS, Target, Walmart. And we've actually already engaged with several of those retailers, and they're excited about NasaClip, but often they want to have us have great traction on the e-commerce side because when you put something on the shelf in a store, you want that demand to already exist. So we want people to be aware of our brand and the solution when it goes into retail, but we have a primed and ready, plan for our revenue growth over the next 5 years. A lot of times people are really excited to talk to me about, the product innovation that we have within the company. So I initially designed NasaClip for nosebleeds, right? I wanted something that provided external compression. And then really the sponges were designed to help deliver medication over an anatomic site inside the nose called Castleback's plexus, which is where a lot of anterior nosebleeds come from. But once I had the device, I actually realized it is really good at delivering other intranasal meds. So part of what we're looking at and moving forward is first, we have both co-packing and potentially co-branding opportunities with different hemostatic and vasoconstrictive agents that we expect to come out next year. And then in 2025, we also are applying for NIH SBIR funding that is going to be focused on NasaClip as a drug delivery platform. So an example of a medication that I think NasaClip could really help with is Narcan or naloxone, the opioid reversal agent. This is a medication that's typically delivered by police or EMS in the field or even a bystander with a nasal spray. But what I'm seeing as an ER doc is that because these drugs are stronger, they're often laced with fentanyl and other really strong opioids, we have to redose the Narcan a lot. We have to give them multiple doses to get any kind of reaction and response. So I think that the NasaClip, if you think about it, putting the medication on the sponges that go in the nose and then applying external pressure will be a more effective way to deliver those medications. So we'll be specifically exploring that with naloxone and midazolam, a benzodiazepine that helps with seizure and alcohol withdrawal in this next year. And then that will open up the $43 billion drug delivery market that we hope to branch into in the coming years. I have a very strong team surrounding me. We continue to, grow. We just had our fourth full-time sales hire, Althea, who came on in August. So we currently have 4 full-time employees, 2 part-time, and then really strong partners that represent, our IP and corporate attorneys, a lot of our bookkeeping and controller, folks who are helping us with our manufacturing, and then of course teams that are making sure that we have a successful Amazon launch and, commercial marketing presence. I also have what I consider to be a stellar advisory board. Betsy, Dave, Maurice, and Bob are currently on the advisory board representing executives that come from organizations like P&G. So Betsy had a 34-year career history at P&G, the last 5 of which she led P&G Ventures. Dave and Bob are MedTech executives. And then Dr. Maurice Lead is my lead investor, fellow emergency medicine physician from Maryland. And he sold his chain of urgent cares to LifeBridge last year. So he represents someone who clinically understands a need in our main channel, which is urgent cares, and has great operating knowledge. We also have a strong strategic medical advisory board with Dr. Sicca, who was my actually attending at GW when I was training, Don, who's our regulatory consultant and has particular expertise in combination devices, and as well as Jane, our nurse advisor, since a lot of times these will be nurses, right, applying the device. And as you can see on our board, we have closed over 2.5 million in this round. And what I'm excited about with the Wefunder campaign is that right now you guys have opportunity to invest at the exact same terms as these current institutional investors. So we have current both VC and angel money represented by Portfolio, Women of Color and Pharma, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, Conscious Venture Partners, TEDCO, and the Impact Seat, for example. In addition to my pre-seed investors that early on invested in me me, and there's over, 30 docs that have invested in me from various specialties such as pediatrics, ENT, orthopedic surgery, obviously a lot of ER docs. And I'm really excited that a lot of these investors see the potential for NasaClip and have the expertise and, support to allow us to grow and meet our upcoming milestones. For this particular company, a lot of people ask me, like, what's the exit? Like, how am I going to get my return on investment? When does this happen? And so I think this is a company that most likely will have an acquisition. Who knows? I'm certainly a founder that's open for varied opportunities. And so if we get to the point where we can IPO, awesome. But what I think will likely happen is that we want to grow into the tens of millions of revenue. And then we'll be approached by a strategic that can globalize the NasaClip brand. So that might be represented by a consumer or pharma manufacturer such as P&G or Bayer, who makes Afrin, a medical distributor, or a retail chain, right? Like a CVS, Walmart, or Target. As we break in more into the drug delivery platform, I certainly think those pharmaceutical companies would be the ones most interested, which is why we've engaged with them now, because they're not only part of our, revenue growth plan, but we also see them as strategic partners in the future who may be interested in acquisition. So I'll wrap up there and finish with an exciting announcement to share with you all. Drum roll. I was just named, as well as the entire NasaClip team, as the 2024 Maryland Manufacturing Star. There's a number of us that are going to be honored at a gala in early November. And this is something that was given to us by the Regional Manufacturing Institute of Maryland, RMI. And so it really means a lot to me because we're a Baltimore-based company, that we are supporting the ecosystem of life science, med tech, and manufacturing innovation in the state. And in particular, I love being a Maryland company. I got a shout out by Governor Westmore earlier this year at his State of the State. And, I'm surrounded by stellar academic institutions, one of which that I'm connected to, University of Maryland, and really an ecosystem of other founders, investors, and people who really want to believe in me. So I will be, super honored to receive this award at the gala. And I look forward to being a rising star nationally, based out of Maryland. So we'll leave some time now to make sure we get to some Q&A. I know I speak a little bit quickly, so if you need me to back up into some slides, I know that I have some of my team on board that's going to help me manage a few of the questions. And then you are also more than welcome to please type those into the chat so that we can see them, and I will be able to answer everybody's questions. While that's going on, I will go ahead and leave this slide up, which has our QR code as well as the website to the Wefunder. Please make sure you check that out. If you've not seen our video, I think it's really superb, and I want you to make sure that you are able to see everything. So first question I have is from Samantha from Afrotech. Hi, Samantha. Thanks for joining. So she wrote, having already surpassed 2.57 million in funding, how has the NasaClip community contributed to reaching this milestone? And what role do I see in our continued investment playing into the future of NasaClip? Where does this place me for the overall funding goal as well? So I mentioned in the deck that we already have momentum in this round because we've closed 2.5 million from institutional and angel investors. And now we're going after additional funding to reach our total goal, which actually is 4 million. So the first 500,000 will be available on the same terms that the institutional investors have, and then we'll have an additional million that we want to raise. And the reason I want to get to the full 4 million is that actually gets us to break even. So for a lot of companies in my position, it's important to understand, like, you're raising capital to get to a certain milestone that adds value to your company and gets you to the next step. For me, that threshold of passing, our break even into profitability is essential. It gives me control over the growth of the company. It also allows me to dictate when we are going to raise our Series A, because I don't want to be in a position where I have to raise a Series A because I have no more runway. I want to be able to raise a Series A because I'm ready for that growth round. And when we're profitable, we will have control over being able to do that. And getting this additional 1.5 million in funding will help to do that more quickly, and also make sure that we have control over the trajectory of the company, and also allows us to add additional value to the company before we go back out to the market and fundraise, which makes everybody in our current investment pool happy, because that means that valuation will be at a higher mark once we do go out for more investment dollars. The other reason that we are doing the Wefunder campaign at this time is because we are really excited about having these, smaller investors be able to evangelize the NasaClip brand. So a lot of times crowdfunding, I think, is successful when you have a consumer medical device or something that's tangible with a simple problem and a solution that people can buy. And we thought that with the Amazon launch that we're about to undertake, this is a perfect time to open it up to our friends and family and then eventually the public to invest in NasaClip and be on this journey for us. I talk really frequently about my experience being a founder that's a Black woman, a mother, and a physician innovator. And it is very hard to raise capital from this demographic. We only give about 2% of venture capital to women. 0.34% of that goes to Black women. And so it is an uphill battle to fundraise. And a lot of times in early fundraising, what they expect you to do is raise from your friends and family, but they can't do that on, typical Reg D regulations unless they're an accredited investor, meaning that they have to have a certain value, $1 million, or make more than 250 a year. And that excludes a lot of people that may want to participate and benefit from being an investor. So I'm just so thrilled that, a lot of members of my own family that are investing wanted to invest early on, couldn't. And now with this crowdfunding platform and using Wefunder, we're giving access to everybody. And that kind of equity is important to me because I don't want it to just be a certain group of people who are taking the ride with me to the top with NasaClip. I want it to be my community that's always supported and represented me from the beginning to take the journey with me. With another question, first of all, thank you so much for the congratulations on the award. I appreciate that, Vasnata. And then Jason wrote, this is Jason with Startup Grind, Maryland. I may have missed it, but is there a plan to penetrate sports market, baseball, soccer, football across all levels? Yes. So maybe you might have missed it. So we have like kind of 3 tiers to our like go-to-market strategy. The first was focused on B2B, which is like mostly hospital, ER, and urgent care. And then actually that second tier represents more B2B customers that are in sports and schools. So I absolutely understand the utility in sports because there are certain sports where this is a big issue. And you name some of them like baseball, soccer, football, especially sports that are in the fall or winter when the air is dry and cold, because that's the most common time that we see nosebleeds. So we're approaching nosebleed season right now, which is why we're launching on Amazon right now. When the humidity drops and people are moving into heated indoor spaces, they're more likely to get nosebleeds. And then people are playing outside in drier environments or having trauma, they get nosebleeds. One of the reasons that we did the iteration of the device with the reusable sponge, it's all plastic, was specifically an ask from sports medicine. We had early on talked to the head trainer at the Wizards, and I shared the device with him that the initial the device has metal in it. And he's like, I like it. It works well, but I cannot return an athlete to play with metal. The new version that's all plastic has just these soft sponges and external plastic. So in many sports, this actually would allow them to return an athlete to play, which is really a huge value add, especially when you're getting to competitive levels in college and professional sports. But certainly I think there's utility at every level, right? Like Little League coaches would love this, any kind of soccer coach, gym teacher, daycares, anywhere where kids are playing around, running around. And that's also why we're obviously represented in spaces that involve travel and event medicine like Disney, Delta, all these other places where there's a lot of people and a lot of opportunities for nosebleeds. Any other questions? I know I answered those 2. But Kelly, let me know if we have anything else because I know we're ahead of time. We have a full hour today, but I don't mind giving people a little bit of their day back, especially on Halloween. I'll give a few minutes for people to answer questions. I really, again, encourage you guys who have invested or thinking about investing, please share this with your network and friends and family. A lot of success in crowdfunding really happens because people are sharing word of mouth, right? They hear about it. They're interested in me as a founder and the NasaClip solution, the trajectory we have as a company. And so they share the page. And we would love for you guys to do that on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, social media presence that you might have, or just talking about it, right? Word of mouth is the best. Talking to someone else about it. And then I will remind everybody that, when you invest at certain levels, like $250, you will get a reusable kit. At $5,000, you get to donate or receive a 20-pack or 2 10-packs to the institution of your choice. And then at the higher level, 25,000, you can come hang out with me. So please check that out. So Samantha asked another question. Can you discuss the retailers that are shelving NasaClip? Yeah, so we're not on retail yet. Retail is actually like kind of the third step when you're talking about a consumer launch. The first focus was our e-commerce launch. So that's been live for about a year. Now we're going into Amazon, and a lot of retailers need to see traction on e-commerce and Amazon before they would put something on shelf. Because even though it is really, first of all, it's a challenge to get on shelf, but once you're there, what you don't want to happen is for it to sit on shelf and not move, because then you're in a position where they're not moving inventory. And so in order to avoid that problem, they like to see building up demand and brand recognition before you go into retail. So we've actually been in talks with Walmart for over a year. We've talked to CVS. And a couple of other retailers. So they know we're coming, but we're strategically holding off on them until we have really solid Amazon and e-commerce sales. And then we'll, move into that retail space when I think we're really primed for growth. And then Jason asked another question: what challenges am I anticipating for 1 to 2 years as I scale? So you mentioned specifics like people, product, supply chain. I think that, our supply chain and really kind of streamlining and building efficiency into our manufacturing processes are going to be one of our biggest challenges. We do currently assemble and package at Harbor Designs and Manufacturing in Baltimore. So this is a US made product, but there's a couple of components that we're getting from China. And I'd really like to actually move all supplies to the US moving forward for a varied reasons. There's a lot of, kind of disruptions in supply chain that happened when the pandemic was in play, right? When I first started out, or the geopolitical scene can impact that. And so I want there to be more efficiency and kind of having everything, at least in the North American continent, if not closer to the United States, so that we can build to scaling our manufacturing, which will help bring down our COGS, our cost of goods, and then be able to kind of have great margins for the company and eventually kind of potentially pass on some of those savings to our consumer when we get to that point. So I think that that's going to be a challenge for us moving forward. Certainly people are always a challenge. So, a startup is a, high growth machine, and we have a lot of people that we're bringing on board quickly. And it's important for us to have, A players in the beginning. And so finding the right people that are, fit well with the core values that we have as a company and, want to hustle and grow with us certainly is always a process. And so I really am excited about, using my networks to make that happen. And so, yes, Jason, we talked a little bit about our team. So we currently have 4 full-time employees and 2 part-time. My co-founder, Ramil Patel, has been on this journey with me from the very, very beginning when I first thought about the device back in 2015. So I feel like our leadership is stellar. We have Mike Russell, who's our head of sales, has 30 plus years experience in medical device. Chris Smith Purnell, our director of operations, also has, several years experience specifically in operations dealing with medical startups, and is really primed to make sure from an operational standpoint, which is like manufacturing, order and fulfillment and growth, building those efficiencies that I just talked about in supply chain is there. Aletha Sinclair, our sales operations coordinator, is a rock star and is going to be kind of moving into making sure that all of our e-commerce branding and marketing is on point and jiving with our sales team. And then I also mentioned Althea, who came on in August as our full-time sales manager. So I really think we have a strong team, a really awesome board, supportive investors, and then we do use a number of vendors that are very reputable. Other questions? I'll give it a couple of minutes. Okay, I just want to make sure we answered all of those. Okay. So if we don't have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. You can see my email down there, drliz@nasaclip.com. You are welcome to ping me anytime if you have questions. I'm also more than happy for those of you who are representing angel groups or just like a small group of people who might be interested in investing but have questions. We can do a private webinar or kind of, go through the pitch deck and allow for some Q&A in that setting. You can email me about that. And we will have other webinars available. This is something I want to offer again as we're moving through our crowdfunding journey on on Wefunder. But I am excited, and I want to make sure I emphasize that you guys got to make moves if you want to make sure you get in on these early bird terms because they are limited. And once we run out, we'll be, changing the terms, and that opportunity to invest at the same level that our current institutional investors are coming in at will go away. So please spread the word. Certainly support us on social media. Share the Wefunder website with others and enjoy your Halloween. Happy Halloween.